Peter Finch here, and welcome to the roundup of the 2019 Quest for the Open. If you are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and please follow me on my other social media. Got so much content which is coming out in the next few weeks that I really want you to be notified and I don't want you to miss out on. However, this video is the recap of the culmination of this year's Quest for the Open, which I'm afraid ended at the first stage at West Lancs yesterday. So if you are new to the channel and you're not sure about what the Quest for the Open is, it's basically a stage process of improvement. Where I put myself and my own game almost on trial to try and make improvements, put that into competition play, and then whatever I learn, I will pass on to you guys in the form of coaching videos and on the weekly Quest for the Open vlog. As the title suggests, it is about trying to qualify for the Open Championship, which any golfer can do as long as they go through regional qualifying, which was yesterday. If you get through that, you go on to final qualifying, which is a 2-round competition. And if you get through final qualifying, the Open Championship, which this year is at Royal Portrush. So the way this is going to be broken down, I'm going to be talking through the stats from West Lancs, exactly what was learned, passing on to your game yet again, answer some of your Q&As, have a roundup, and then discuss about the future of the Quest for the Open. So I shot 2 over, which is a 74 around West Lancs. Even though in Open qualifying, that's actually my best score, I've got to be honest, it was probably the most disappointing round that I've had. Because this year's qualification, there was a lot more confidence about actually getting through. So my game has been trending in the right direction, and the comp results have been very consistent and been good, been consistently in top 10s, top 5s of tournaments. And as mentioned, getting through this regional stage, pretty confident about doing that. Getting through final stage, my game is still a little bit off that mark, but it's the beauty of the Open qualification process. Anyone who has 3 really good rounds can get through to the Open. Now, West Lancs is a fantastic links course. It actually has the Amateur Championship next year, but it is, I would say, probably one of the toughest, but also the fairest links courses that you're likely to play. You're never going to get massively bad bounces. You're never going to get loads of lucky bounces. It's just super fair. You hit good shots, you get rewarded. And the greens, yet again this year, were running absolutely pure. At one point last year, they were running at about 11 to 12 on the stimp when we had that super dry summer. This year, they were slightly slower. Well, not only slightly though, but the rough was so much thicker. It has been like perfect rough growing weather here in the UK. It's been a bit wet, nice and warm. So yeah, lost balls and lost souls in the rough at West Lancs recently. So let's get onto the round and the stats. Now to analyse this round, we've got to start a couple of nights before, because what I did is I checked into a hotel nearby on the golf course. I was out at 8:30 in the morning, so I didn't want an hour drive from Manchester. So I checked into somewhere just 10 minutes down the road. Now, on the face of it, that was a wise decision, and it is one I'd probably do again, but I had issues. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that my nerves sometimes get the better of me, and that used to manifest itself in not being able to sleep before a competition. Like sometimes I'd literally get no sleep at all. Now, over the last few years going through this process, that is one of the things which I've really improved upon, actually managing to get sleep before a round. But unfortunately, some of my old demons did come back to haunt me, and I only managed to get a few hours sleep that evening. So that's not ideal preparation, obviously, because what it does, if you don't rest effectively, it's going to affect your ability to think clearly and also to move in the ways that you want to. But I have played good golf before when I'm tired, so all wasn't lost. It was just not ideal preparation. And just before the round, went through my stretching routine, my warm-up routine, didn't leave myself quite enough time on the putting green. Now, my putting over the last few weeks during the competitions has been greatly improved, and I'm really pleased with how my stroke's looking and pretty much everything about my putting, to be honest. But on the putting green, I just couldn't start the ball on line, and my pace control was a little bit off. I didn't quite leave myself long enough to figure that out, and that actually caused me issues throughout the round, pace control and line control. I just wasn't able to put quite as well as I wanted to. And this footage throughout the front nine, some of this was taken by Andy, my caddy, but also Rob Goodison on Twitter. If you do want to go check him out and drop him a message on Twitter and just to say thank you for finding this footage. He was very kind to come around to film, take photographs, and actually send them to me. So Rob, thank you so, so much. It really helped capture the atmosphere of the event much better. So as you can imagine, this is the same really through any comp, doesn't really matter if it's Open qualifying. That first hole, very nervous. Managed to get a really decent 3-wood off the tee, managed to knock it about 280 down there, which actually was a lot better than I could have expected. Adrenaline was going, the strike wasn't very good. Managed to knock it down there, knock it into the middle of green, left myself about a 20-footer for birdie. Not an ideal angle, right of the pin, so putting downhill and obviously on these quick greens, but just lipped it by. Decent start, off to a par. Happy. Hit a really good tee shot off the next again with a 3-wood, hit a really good 5-wood approach. My fairway woods, by the way, so happy with those. Those are the big benefit to really come out of this round. My fairway wood play has been greatly improved recently. And knocked a 5-wood just onto the edge of the green. It's a par 5 and 3-putted. It was a bad first putt. Pace was good. It was just so far offline. Kind of took a bit of a kick actually off the fringe, which wasn't ideal. But then my second putt wasn't good. Nervy. Very nervy. And that was to become a little bit of a theme running through that front nine. Actually, to be able to release the putter, to stop feeling nerves. I was breathing really well. I was controlling that fantastic. Kept my emotions very well in check. Very much Stenson Molinari all the way through the round. You'll get that if you've watched previous videos. But I was feeling tight. I was feeling tense over the ball. Just couldn't turn and release through how I wanted to. And that started to manifest itself in some pulled shots. So missed the green on the par 3, the third. Bloody hate that hole. Made a bogey there. Really good par on the next, actually. Played that one very well. But then I pulled the ball on the par 5 the next and lost it in that thick rough. Hit my second drive onto the fairway, onto the green with a 5-wood. Again, a great approach, 2-putted for a second ball birdie and a bogey. Hit the next par 3, pulled it a little bit off to the left-hand side yet again, but actually hold a snake of a putt across the green. That was my best putt. I saw the line clearly, a little bit right to left, then breaking back to the right at the end, double breaker, boom, get in. Pulled a really good putt on the next after a pulled tee shot and a pulled second shot and a dodgy chip. Made a bad bogey on the 8th after a crappy chip. To be honest, that wasn't very good. Played a couple of decent shots into the 9th and just about managed to get out of there with a par after a dodgy first putt. And entered the back 9 2 over, where this round really started to show, it really started to get going. But let's get to your Q&As.
Oh, hello.
Sit.
You cannot be knackered already, Murph. Come on. So I thought it best to leave the house while actually answering these questions. And there are lots. So I'll try and get through as many as possible, as quickly as possible, in the shortest amount of time possible. So Sophie Walker says, "You look so sad. Get a bottle of wine open." Okay. So Arjen Peterson says, "When is golf not disappointing?" Well, it can sometimes feel like it's disappointing a lot of the time. Bear in mind, golf, you are going to spend 99% of your time losing, generally, unless you just play match play, and if you're any good at that, hopefully you'll be winning a little bit more. But I think like anything which is hard, and golf is a hard game, it makes the successes all the more sweet when they do come, even though it is, rare. This question from Christopher Vedette. If you have a strength in your game, what is it and why? Well, apart from yesterday, I would have said short game and putting was generally getting to be a really good strength of mine, but you know what? It's just a day. You shouldn't judge a whole golf game on one day. What do you think is the biggest area that needs improvement for next year? We'll get into that a little bit at the end, but I would say definitely mental and physical. Mental and physical. Not so much just about technical improvement in the golf game, more about the underlying structure, about what underpins that. Question from Daniel TH14. How hard is it from the back tees? Well, it's more difficult if distance is an issue. Now on a links course, which was relatively dry as it was, and hitting it okay, distance isn't too much of an issue for me, to be honest, but what it was leaving me was more approaches from 130 to about 170 yards. So that's a lot different than what I've been doing recently, practicing a lot of my wedge game. So that didn't really help me too much, my wedges. Everything's just so green at the moment. So a question here from lim_.016. Why don't you try to qualify at Hollingwell? So basically do a different course. Well, I'm gonna have to next year because it's not at West Lancs. So this was the last year that open qualifying was at West Lancs. Next year, I think the nearest one might be Caldy, I want to say, but I've not checked into that yet. But the actual process of actually picking the course for open qualifying, trying to avoid these nettles, is something I need to go through in more detail.
So the back 9. Made a par on 10 after leaving a birdie putt short, which was a little bit frustrating. Again, had the line on that. But with my approach play, I just wasn't quite getting it close enough. Everything was kind of about 20 to 30 feet away, which even if you're putting really, really well, you're not going to be holing all of those. You're only going to be holing a very small percentage. So my approach play, even though I was hitting a fair few greens, just wasn't getting it close enough to actually convert the birdies. Made an absolute all-time up and down on the next for a birdie. Hit a great drive just down the left-hand side of the fairway. Hit an amazing 3-wood, which actually travelled about 290 in the end with a bit of a kick. Just exploded off the face. Managed to get up and down from a really thick rough, very, very difficult shot behind the back of that green, and managed to make a birdie. So, feeling it, getting back in. Next par 3, just lipped out with a birdie putt. Actually, really good putt. That probably my best of the day to that point. And then hit a pretty crap tee shot into the right semi. Got a bit of a dodgy lie and pulled it left of the green. I'm not sure if that was a pull more or just a face wrapping over, but anyway, it finished in a spot where you just could not go on that green. I was basically in a hollow, flag was tight left, so I had to play to the other side of the green where there's a ridge, run it back down, and left myself about 12 foot. It was a decent shot. Hit a good putt, really pleased with the putt, ran it about 2.5 feet by, and then I missed that tiddler coming back, which... Well, just not a good putt, not a good mental state over that. Walked off with a double. But showed some resilience. Hit a dodgy tee shot off the next into the rough. Had a really bad lie. Managed to get a really good 5-iron up onto the green on stroking next one hole. And then hold a 20-footer across the green. By far the best putt. By far the most representative putt of what I've done recently. Pulled my next tee shot, actually hit a wall and came back in to the semi-rough. Parred that par 4 after a really good first putt, actually almost made a birdie. But that's a difficult hole for me. I hate it, to be honest. Birdie the next for par 5. Good drive, good 3-wood onto the green 2 putt. And then 3-whacked on the 17th to put me back to 2 over. Oh, it was such a bad 3-putt. Such a bad pace putt. And then actually had a little bit of a flyer on the last left semi. Hit it to the back of the green, left myself about 70-foot putt, and actually hit a really, really good putt. But I think this picture encapsulates how I was feeling. It almost had a little bit of lump in my throat. I was that disappointed. I was disappointed for not being able to show how I'd been playing leading up to this event, but also disappointed for the people who came to watch because, you know, it's still annoying now. So let's get to your Q&As again and then have that final roundup.
Is it rest time? Is it? Well, I wouldn't say the Meuse is the most beautiful river in the world, but it's all about the company. So this question from Caden_watermelon. Caden, I really hope that is your name. How many did you miss the cut by? So in the end, I actually missed it by 3. And I thought I was going to miss out on the playoff by 1. So it was a bit strange what happened with the weather, really. So the forecasts were not looking good for Monday. There was thunderstorms, there was heavy showers around. And what was meant to happen was the weather in the morning was meant to be quite nice, and then the afternoon it was meant to get a little bit rainy and a little bit windy. But what actually happened, it was windier in the morning with no rain, and then when I'd finished it went completely flat calm, and then the wind changed direction in the other way that actually made the closing holes much easier. So the scoring in the afternoon was actually better than the morning scoring, and it's always normally the other way around there. So the actual winning score was 6 under, which even in like calmer conditions in the afternoon is incredible scoring. It just goes to show that the depth and quality of the fields. Now, I mean, a lot of the people who actually qualified from regionals, a lot of them were amateurs, so really good young junior players, good players, kind of 18, 19 looking to turn pro. The depth of quality out there now is awesome. So not so much a question, but this is something that a lot of people have said, and it's very humbling. This is from Charles Malone 04. Just want to say your channel has got me back into playing golf. Thank you. I'm back and loving it. And to be honest, I mean, that's the type of thing that kind of does make it all worthwhile, to be honest, guys. All the playing stuff and, well, pretty much everything. I mean, that pales into, you know, insignificance when something like that is happening. You know, what an amazing privilege that is.
So things to improve. Figuring out how to get effective rest. That's 100% on the list. Improving my mental and my physical game. Mentally, I'm better. Physically, I need to keep pushing with the game improvements I'm making, because technique-wise and all that, you know what? It's actually getting better. There's no doubt about that. Actually repeating that in that pressurized situation, that's what I need to get better at, and I have been doing it again in competitions this year. This is the most disappointing thing about this. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. Is when you're practicing, when it's good in practice, and then when you actually play well in competitions as well, everything's going smoothly, then you get to something that you really want to do well in, and it doesn't quite come off. That's disappointing in golf, in life, in everything. But golf is that great magnifying glass. It shows you where the weaknesses exist. It shows you more about your character than many other sports can, and that's what's great about it. That is what's great about it. It is about that learning, and you're never going to learn unless you have these failures. It just doesn't, you just can't. And that's what it is. Failure is just that town that you pass through on the way to learning. So what does this mean for the quest moving forwards? Well, so I've put a lot more time into the quest for the Open Series this year. No doubt about it. It's been a much bigger commitment. And that has hampered me in other aspects of what I'm doing on YouTube, because when you put more time into things like that, you maybe can't quite make the content that you want to in other areas, because it is quite time consuming. But it is a great vehicle for improving the golf. And that's what basically my channel is about. I want people to improve. I want them to enjoy this game just more, because it is a great sport. And hopefully you have learned stuff from watching these Quest for the Open videos. Hopefully it has been worthwhile in that regard. And doing these videos on improvement, trying to get people better at golf, it then allows me to do the travel content that I'm doing. It allows me to get around the world and see it, and obviously take you guys along for the ride. So yes, it will be carrying on for another 2 seasons. So 2 years from now, the Open is at St Andrews, which, listen, if I was going to try and get in an Open, that's the one. But if coming out of this process, didn't manage to get to the Open, that would obviously be a failure as far as the series is concerned. But what about if we didn't do that, but the game improved overall? I was actually winning competitions and playing well, and you guys were learning more and more from those experiences. That's not a failure. That is a huge success. Because although it has this overarching name, it is the Quest for the Open, that is not the heart of it. The heart of it is about that learning process. It's about that improvement. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and please comment below. What has this series helped you with? If it's helped you with anything at all, hopefully it has. And please comment, let me know. Subscribe, like, share, follow me on my other social media as well. And we'll see you next time.